And did you start discovering Buddhism? Yeah. Elise, do you want to go ahead and make the announcement? You can use this microphone.
Thank you. I'm Elise Strevel, Outreach Coordinator for the Center, and I have some outstanding opportunities for you to expand your knowledge and involvement in different kinds of Dharma. Today, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, there's an interfaith, triangle interfaith service. It's a devotional gathering where multiple faith traditions, like 8 or 10 different traditions, are going to celebrate gratitude for creation in preparation for Thanksgiving this week. It's going to be at 2 o'clock at the Greystone Baptist Church on Lead Mine Road, and it's going to be really awesome. Music and sing-alongs and all kinds of great stuff. So please join us. There's a flyer, for those of you who are here, there's a flyer on the wall just outside. You could take a picture of it for reference. It's brought to you in affiliation with the Triangle Interfaith Alliance and the Interfaith Creation Care of the Triangle, both of which are affiliated with Kadampa Center. And here's a really exciting thing. After many years of nothing, we are bringing back Dharma Night at the Movies here at the Kadampa Center. Yes. And we are going to have our premiere on Friday, December the 8th. We'll gather at 6:30 and the movie will show promptly at 7. And our premiere is going to be Milarepa, Magician, Murderer, Saint. Isn't that enticing? So we're going to discover the backstory of this famous 11th century Buddhist teacher who was involved in black magic and murderous revenge before turning his life around. So in his example, we can find some hope for ourselves. So be on the lookout for more information about this on our website and our announcements. Thank you, everyone.
Venerable Lama La is here. Venerable Kandala.
About 45 pounds. Venerable Lama. I can shrink about 3 inches. So there you go.
I'm so.
Okay, yeah, I guess. Thank you. Linda, you or Donna? You're good.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the prayers, and Donna will lead the prayers.
Great, thank you so much.
So we'll start on page 34 in the Gold Prayer Book with Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra, followed by Medicine Buddha.
Ta mune mahamunaye soha. Ta mune mahamunaye soha. Ta mune mahamunaye soha. Bhagawan, with equal compassion for all, whose name, when merely heard, dispels the suffering of the lower realms, dispeller of disease and the three poisons, I prostrate to Medicine Buddha Lapis Light. Teata Om Bekanse Maha Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha. Teata Om Bekanse Maha Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha. Deata Om Bekanse Maha Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha. Teata 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 Om Bekanse Maha Bekanse Raja Samudgate Soha.
And now the four immeasurables.
Thanks, Linda. So let's recite the four measurables twice in English and then chant it once in Tibetan. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is without suffering. May all sentient beings be friends and hatred for enemies. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Sem chen tom che je wa dong. Je wei gyu dang den par gyur chik du ngal dong du. Well, sorry, I'm losing it. Linda, let me come look. No, because this is different from the chanting one. The chanting version is different in the book, and so I'm getting a little lost. Thank you for your patience with me. Let's start again on that second line. Du ngal dong du ngal gi gyu dong drel war gyur chik du ngal me pe de wa dang mi drel war gyur chik nye ring chak dang ni Pargyurchik. And now, if you're in the Gampa, at the very bottom of page 37, we'll have Chenrezig's mantra and Green Tara's mantra, each 7 times. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taritu Re Soha, 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 Om Taritu Re Soha. And then back to the center of page 34. And we'll have taking refuge in generating bodhicitta. And let's do this 1 time in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chudang soki chok nam la, jang chu bardu dagni kyab suchi, dagi chunyen gi pe so nam gi, drola penchir sangye drupar shog. Sangye chudang soki chok nam la, jang chu bardu dagni kyab suchi, Dagi chunyen gi pe sonam gi, drola penshir sangye drupar sho.
Gosh, didn't say the verses before, and so we got through the prayers faster than usual. Uh-oh. So, good morning, everybody. I have to say, I'm a little shaky about doing this morning for a variety of reasons, one of which is you ever had a, kind of an idea and made a commitment to do something, and then you go, whose idea was this? Well, I certainly want to do, well, there's not a chance I can do Atisha justice. Like, let's just say it right there. It's not going to happen. But the amount of information about him is so extensive and vast, and it comes from several different perspectives. One is the usual tradition method of extreme exaggeration to make a point about the qualities of a teacher. And the other is, well, there's this version and there's this version and there's this version, and we're not sure if this version, so we should really look into it further. So out of all of that, what I'm going to attempt to do is talk about his life, what we actually, who knows if we actually know it or not, but what consensus is that happened in the 10th century when he was born, and also talk about his teachings. But oh, that was good. Forgot one of the things I needed to bring. There you go. Ding dong, karma delivery. So But I'd like to begin with just talking about who here is like super familiar or familiar with Atisha and who he is and what he did and why he's important. Yeah. Well, I meant, so the reason the statue is here is that Lama Zopa suggested to the center, well, when Lama Zopa makes a suggestion, you just do it. Or that it would be very beneficial to have a statue of Atisha. So it was a long process of, as usual, money and work and effort, and the statue was made under, well, thousands of miles away, but under the guidance of Geshe-la in terms of, this is what the face will look like. No, I want you to tweak it here. And then when the statue arrived, it needed to be filled, cleaned and filled. So, and that's why. So why did Lama Zopa, he said it would be of benefit, and I'm sure he had many thoughts about it, none of which I know. But the truth is none of us would be sitting here if it wasn't for Lama Atisha. Not that we wouldn't be Buddhist. Buddhism existed in Tibet, it existed in India, and it was spreading, but we certainly wouldn't be in this room with these teachers and all of the wonderful support that we get as we practice the Dharma. So why is that? And I'll try and illustrate how this happened, but I might not do such a great job. So just in case I forget what I need to say that is so important about this, is that he brought together, we talk about wisdom and method, wisdom being, Shakyamuni Buddha, Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, and we also talk about method, which is Maitreya, Asanga, Vasubandhu, Shantideva. To just say, and Dharmakirti, Sir Lingpa, by the way. So we bring all that together, but he brought them together. If anybody knows, Rabina's great phrase, wisdom and compassion are the two wings of the bird, and he brought the wings together, and he brought them together in an incredibly accessible way, at least for this not very astute person who can't tell you the 51 mental factors. So that's why he became important. And again, from him came the Kadam school that Geshe-la talks about all the time, and all the mind training texts that we have. So I'm going to try to just give you a brief overview of what that process was for him in terms of arriving there, and also a little bit, some samples of some quotes from him as a teacher. And so he was born in 1982. No, I wish he had born in 1982. Then I could be his grandmother. And but he was born in 982. Drop the 1. And he lived to 1054. He was born in Bengal, which is now Pakistan. And it seems that many of our teachers are revered Arya teachers like Atisha and, the Buddha were born to extremely wealthy families, and he was. So I'm going to read this quote that he supposedly said when he was 18 months old. At his first formal appearance. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of, I think it's very accurate in terms of the being that he was. But I'm not sure at 18 months he was speaking this way. But who am I to know? I wasn't there. So without any instruction, he prostrated to the venerable objects inside and spontaneously recited, "Because of the compassion of my parents, I have attained a precious human life, rich with the opportunity to view all you great figures. I always take my safe direction, refuge." When introduced to his royal subjects outside, he prayed to realize his fullest potential in order to satisfy their every need. He also prayed to be able to take the robes of a spiritual seeker who recounts family life, never to be proud, and always have compassion, its sympathy, and loving concern for others. So, from a very young age, he wanted to become a wandering mendicant. Obviously, like the Buddha, the family didn't shield him in quite the same vigorous way. But of the three sons, he's the one they wanted to, take over. Came time to marry, and so Tara, night before the wedding, Tara appears to him. Now, I guess we do. His personal yidam was White Tara. He's the yidam for Sarah J. which is the yidam for House 26A at Sarah J. Monastery, and for Sarah J. Monastery as a whole. And she said, "You've been a monk for 500 consecutive lives. And so probably not a good idea to get married." So probably better than I would have done. He did it skillfully, didn't cause any, rupture and stuff. And so he told his parents he wanted to go. So the marriage didn't happen, and he told his parents he wanted to go hunting. Well, he lied. He was going hunting, but he was going hunting for a spiritual teacher. So, the prey was the misinformation, but he did go hunting, and he met Jatari, a Brahmin priest who lived as a recluse, as a Buddhist. And then this man sent him to Nalanda. And so he set off there and met two teachers. The challenge with this short talk is that I can't pronounce any of these names. And I didn't get a chance to meet with Chukila so that I could practice pronouncing these names. Sorry about that. Ava Hutipa, and so all in all, he sent him back home to say, take a look at the drawbacks of luxurious life. And so he did. And the parents were decided to seat him. And they thought he would, he'd come to his senses. I mean, he was only 16 at the time or thereabouts. And he said, "To me, the Golden Palace is a prison. And I just want to sit at the feet of the master, Abba Dubita. And so can I have some milk and honey and brown sugar?" I guess he liked to bake. And so his parents offered him that. And he went to see this teacher. And this teacher sent him to Rahula Gupta. And this is, I have to say, this strikes me as so adolescent. I love it. So Rahula Gupta sent him back to near the palace with for eight of his disciples, 4 male, 4 female, dressed scantily in the bone ornaments of Mahasiddhas, great adepts with actual attainments. So for 3 months, they lived in the environs of the palace, not in the palace, in engaging in outrageous and unpredictable behavior. So his parents, thinking him to have gone mad, gave full permission for him to leave and do whatever he wanted to do. But I don't know about, much about adolescence, but is not uncommon for an adolescent to do something kind of wild and crazy. Not that it wasn't under divine, enlightened guidance, but I do appreciate the image of them outside the palace, kind of like a small gathering of hippies. So that's again, this is a very personal, take what you want and leave the rest, okay? But the facts, as I found them, are true. So he went back to Avadita now, and from the age of 21 to 25, he'd studied the Mahayamika middle way, Nagarjuna from Nalanda, the Nalanda thing. And he kind of got a little prideful and was thinking that he had mastered all the texts that he needed to master. Well, a vision of a Dakini, a celestial maiden, kind of caught him up short, and she told him, there are many volumes of such tantric systems, and you know but a few. So he woke up kind of humbled. And so he wanted to become a Vajra master. But his Vajra master, Rahula Gupta, appeared in a dream and advised him not to do so and desert everybody, but to become a mendicant monk. He should continue in this manner with steady practice and achieve perfect enlightenment. Thus, at the age of 29, he ordained. He was given the name Dipankara Shujana, he whose deep awareness acts as a lamp. He studied for years with many masters. They say he had 157 teachers over the course of his studies and time. So this is where it gets interesting. So he's been studying the middle way. He's been practicing. He's renowned for his kindness and his commitment to the Vinaya and purifying even the least any negativity. He went to Bodh Gaya and he was circumambulating. And he heard 2 statues talking. If you wish to achieve enlightenment as quickly as possible, in what should you train? A totally dedicated heart of bodhicitta. And then a statue of the Buddha said, "O mendicant monk, if you wish to realize your fullest potential, quickly train in love, compassion, and bodhicitta." So I'm going to quote, this is a quote from Atisha. "The highest wisdom lies in not grasping anything as being what it appears to be, and what is the ultimate goal of that teaching. The ultimate goal of the teaching is that emptiness, whose essence is compassion." And so he decided to go to Indonesia. There was a very famous teacher there. Geshe-la refers to him as Sir Lingpa, which was actually the name of the place where he lived on the island of Sumatra. But his name, we often know him by, is Dharma. Took 13 months to get there. And I whine about 21 hours to get to India, so there you go. And so he spent 12 years there with Sir Lingpa. He received the full teachings from Maitreya and Asanga again. So I guess if I'm looking at a picture of it, this is the catch. If I'm looking at a picture of it, of course, Manjushri's on my left, but really, if they were facing us, Manjushri would be on the right, and I'm no good at flipping that stuff. So, but Maitreya and Asanga, again, the method school, Yogacara. So at 45, he decided to return to India, having realized bodhicitta, clearly a bodhisattva. And he was asked later, why did he consider, he had, 3 Dharma, Dhamara, Shita, Wheel of Sharp Weapons, Matripa Yogi was one of his huge teachers, began to teach him the taking on the suffering of others. And then Dharmakirti, Sir Lingpa, the embodiment of bodhicitta. Those were his 3 main teachers. But he was asked why Sir Lingpa was so important to him. "I make no distinction among all my spiritual mentors, but because of the kindness of my sublime master from the Golden Isle, I have gained peace of mind and the dedicated heart of a bodhicitta aim." And the words emphasized there were kindness. And I think that's what hooked me on Atisha, is that coming from the background I came from, you're supposed to be kind, you're supposed to be, there's lots of rules, but they really weren't delivered, they weren't taught with a whole bunch of kindness. Now, that's not true for a lot of people, but it was true for me. And so, for a master like Atisha to say that the connection was not just the teachings, but the kindness of the connection, is really powerful for me. And I think of Geshe-la, I think of Lama Zopa, I think of Yangtze Rinpoche, who was recently here, and the many of them, and the great kindness that they treat us with. So he goes back to India, and ends up in charge of a couple of different monasteries, and is just tremendously respected and valued. But at the time, so here's the context with Tibet at the time. In the 9th century, there was King Dharma decided to try and stomp out Buddhism, and he worked really hard to do that. And so once that time of suppression stopped, there weren't a lot of practitioners. And there was an awful lot of misunderstanding, and particularly the separation of the path of method and wisdom. So at the time, there was a king, well, it's got 2 little dots over the O, so I don't know how you say that, but Yeshio. And he wished very much to invite a learned master to try and help Tibet recover from this time and have the true teachings. So he sent 21 young men to study Sanskrit and locate a suitable master. Only 2 of them lived, but they spent time and they learned. One was Rinchen Zangpo and Legsho. And they returned to the king several years later and said, Atisha, that's the guy. So wasting no time, the king sent lots of gold to beg Atisha to come. But the companions died, and so they weren't able to reach Atisha. And then he said, I'm going to go myself. Took lots of gold and went. And he was captured and put in prison and ransomed. Big ransom. And so his nephew, Jangtub, got as much gold together as he could. And the gold requested was as much as his whole body. Well, he got enough for whole body, but he didn't have enough gold for the head. And of course, the king said, the captor said, got to have the whole thing. And he went to see, but he was given permission to see his uncle. Said, don't give up hope. I'll try and get more gold. And the king said, I never expected you to have such compassion and wisdom. But you must forget about me. He doesn't like the gold we gave him. We're not giving him any more. I have died countless times in previous lives, but I have never sacrificed myself for the triumphant one's Dharma. I am very happy to do so. So please go tell Atisha that I've given my life for the welfare of my subjects, that the Dharma can be brought to Tibet. So he became king. And so there was a third mission. So he finally, he went to India, finally had an audience with Atisha. And this was the message from the king, the uncle, actually. Please tell him if he has any compassion for others, he must come. If the barbarians of Tibet have such concerns for the Dharma, and he has none, then Buddhism has indeed weakened, and there is no hope. So he said, I'll go, but I've got to, I've got to check with my yidam, my Dharma. And so he consulted, and Tara said, well, you can go, and you're going to be of great, great benefit, but your life will be shortened. So the abbot didn't want him to go because, he was really important, very helpful to two major monasteries. So they kind of secretly tried to plan just a small pilgrimage. And asked the abbot, and the abbot refused because, abbots are smart. They know when people are up to something. And when they were refused, they said, well, shouldn't we, he was kind of in tattered robes and, not looking so cool. And, shouldn't we get somebody that, looks more the part? And no, Atisha's who we need. And I think of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I don't know how many people here have had teachings from him frequently. And his attendants were always neatening him up. Like this is in pretty pristine condition. His would be, the blue would be faded. It would be, and it just didn't matter. It just didn't matter to him. And so I thought of Lama Zopa when I was, when I read that. So it was, and if anybody's ever seen, Rabina, she's, a perfect nun, and, she often has new robes, but very often it's like, they've been worn and washed and worn and washed and worn and washed. Ours would have gone to the thrift store. So, but when they got caught, they said, my reasons for not wishing Atisha to go was the same. That's what the abbot said. But the need in Tibet is so great, I'm willing to let him go for 3 years. Then he's got to come back. And the thing that struck me about this whole thing is the amount of patience. Because Atisha then said, I've got stuff to wrap up here. It's going to take a while. So it was 2 years before they left for Tibet. And that's probably pretty reliable. So when he got to Tibet, he was really impressed with the learning of the people that he had been invited to teach. And yet, the notion of wisdom and compassion being the two wings of the bird, just wasn't, that wasn't where they came from. And here was the request from the king. Once that was kind of, I will help you do this. We do not want teachings on measures that are so vast and profound, we shall be unable to adopt them. What we need is something that will tame our minds and enable us to deal with our everyday impulsive behavior, karma, and its results. Please teach us the measures you yourself take. So he wasn't asked for, advanced tantric practices or special initiations. And so he spent 3 years at Nagari giving discourses and wrote A Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment. And I think about Geshe-la. When he first came, there were many, well, there still are, but there were quite a few people that had, tremendous background in the Dharma, tantric initiations, and wanted more of the same and have very advanced practices. And Geshe-la just didn't do it. Just didn't do it. Actually didn't do it until this time last year when Khyentse Rinpoche was here. And he did a month of tantric initiations, highest yoga tantra initiations, and also the blessings of them. But he guided us for me, I've been here since 2001, which I guess about 2 years after he came. During all those years, he guided us through the Lam Rim, except the hell realms. He knew I couldn't swallow it, so he started skipping the hell realms. And the lamp for the path of enlightenment. There were 5 light for the path of enlightenment, a light for the path to enlightenment, teaching retreats at Black Mountain with Lama Zopa Rinpoche and other wonderful teachers. And for me, Lama Zopa, I'm just realizing this, for myself, epitomized the union of compassion and wisdom. And so then after those 3 years, he traveled in Tibet. And at the end of 3 years, he was supposed to go back to India, but there was a lot of conflict on the border, and it would be almost impossible for him to safely get back. And so his translator wrote the abbot a letter, Nagatso, explaining that they had good intentions, but it just wasn't safe to do it, and sent a copy of Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, which was then examined and tested, as like the Buddha said about any teaching, look at it, touch it, heed it, and it was just found to be amazing. And so the abbot said, I have no more objection to Atisha staying in Tibet. What he has written will benefit us all. I merely ask that he send a commentary as soon as possible. And so he taught, he wrote, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about, and then died at age 72, near Lhasa, which was where he spent the last 5 years of his life. And Joan Pampa was a layperson that became his disciple. And then and really founded, it was Atisha and John Tapa and the people studying his teachings, that the Kadam tradition, the Kadampa, was born. So you'll recognize the names. Patawa, Geshe mentions it all the time. Chekawa, 7-point mind training. Well, Atisha wrote the 7-point mind training. He systematized it. So, and I'm sorry, I know this is boring, but I'm going to switch to quotes because that's where it lies for me with Atisha. And that's if I can find him. That's if I can find him. So, to be kind to those who have come from afar, to those who have been ill for a long time, or to our parents in their old age, is equivalent to meditating on emptiness, of which compassion is the very essence. When all the world is filled with evil, place all setbacks on the path of liberation. Don't seek others' pain as the limbs of your own happiness. I love this one. Don't ponder others. And I guess if anybody that's been listening to Geshe for a long time is familiar, don't transfer the ox's load to the cow. How many times have we heard that one? I've heard it several times. And always meditate on what provokes resentment. So, the qualities of Buddhahood are gained through living beings and victorious ones alike. Why then do we respect the victorious ones and not living beings in the same way? The best spiritual friend is one who attacks your hidden faults. The best instructions are the ones that hit those faults. The best friends are mindfulness and vigilance. The best incentives are enemies, obstacles, and sufferings of illness. The best method is not to fabricate anything. I thought about Yangtze Rinpoche, in the 8 verses of mind transformation that he taught here. And he said, from a samsaric point of view, this makes absolutely no sense to be, but from a bodhicitta point of view, it makes absolute sense. And this sounds like Lama Zopa to me. Be done with doubt and indecision. Embrace your practice with all your heart. Shake off lethargy, dullness, and laziness, and strive always with enthusiasm and joy. Always keep a smiling face and a loving mind. And speak truthfully without malice. This was stuck in the middle of it, and it says the source is unknown, but so I'm going to say, but the only thing that comes without effort is old age. So here are some of the phrases that, when going back to what King Jangchub asked for, it's like training in bodhicitta. And all activities train with slogans. It reminded me of when I first got sober and I walked into an AA room and there's first things first, would you rather be right than happy, happy, whatever, slow is good. So be grateful to everyone. Whatever you meet unexpectedly, join with meditation. Of the two witnesses, hold the principal one. I don't know about anybody here, but I didn't really understand this. And so the middle way school had little videos of the students who were like 8 and 9, talking about what the slogan meant to them. I thought, holy Toledo. So what I learned was, now it makes perfect sense, is I often have, and I still do, ask other people's opinions about something I should do or not do. And that has some validity, but the point is finally, I'm the only one that can make that decision. And I have to reflect, and I have to, take responsibility. Always maintain only a joyful mind. I'm clearly not well trained, because if you can practice even when distracted, you are well trained. And work with the greatest defilement first. Don't malign others. Don't wait in ambush. How many times have we listened, composing our reply or retort? I'll speak for myself. And such a good description of it. I have to learn more about this one. Don't be so predictable. Don't try to be the fastest. Don't be swayed by external circumstances. I guess as we enter this time of shopping and gifts and all of that, it's going to be, there'll be an effort. Liberate yourself by examining and analyzing. Don't expect applause. And I don't know, I mean, people have been around for a while, and I'm just gonna, early on, I've had these very, very long time. And what's interesting is these were books that Geshe-la suggested, and well, he taught from the original, but these are Tup and Jinpa translated. So the book Kadam, which is the Kadam masters and their teachings, and Mind Training, the Great Collection. So I probably, so here's how to help guard others' minds. Be peaceful and sincere and speak truthfully. Master, what should one do if they cause harm? Do not respond with wrathful, hostile, opposing acts. Master, what if they cause harm even when nothing is done in return? Does not matter, always keep a smile. Master, this is indeed difficult. Because it is difficult, it is greatly meritorious. How is it, Master, how is it that it is greatly meritorious? This is because such a person understands how to practice. How does one speak truthfully with peace and sincerity? Shower whatever praises you can think of. Master, I shall do this indeed. One should embrace whatever one is asked. Master, not much benefit comes from the pleasant interaction of a single day. If one strives for a long time, even iron wears out. Sir Lingpa said, for one who is tranquil, tamed, and wise in speech, a bodhisattva skilled in carrying the burden, if even the dark forces of Mara cannot trample upon such a one, what wrathful force can perturb him? Of all the teachings of the path, which is the best? The Master replied. The best learning is realizing the truth of no self. The best discipline is taming your mind stream. The best excellence is to have great altruism. The best instruction is the constant observation of your mind. The best antidote is the recognition that everything is devoid of intrinsic existence. The best conduct is being at variance with the mundane world. The best higher attainment is the lessening of your mental afflictions. The best sign of higher attainment is a decrease in your attachment. The best giving is the absence of possessiveness. The best morality is a tranquil mind. The best joyful perseverance is to be able to let go of the endeavor, the results. The best concentration is the uncontrived mind. The best wisdom is to make no identification of I am with anything. The best spiritual teacher is to challenge your weaknesses. The best instruction is to strike at your very own shortcomings. The best friends are mindfulness and introspective awareness. The best motivating factors are your enemies, obstacles, illness, and suffering. I repeated something. The best skilled means is to be free of apprehension. The best beneficial deed is to help someone enter the Dharma. And the best help given is to turn someone's thoughts to the Dharma. And what is the most final of all teachings? I repeat it, the most final among all the teachings is the emptiness that is endowed with the essence of compassion. Sorry, I didn't memorize all these. Mm-hmm. See, where's this? Oops. Emptiness, the equanimity of self and others, and the awakening mind which equalizes foes and friends. He who generates these two attains enlightenment. With no admissions, in addition, I shall write about these in accordance with my teacher's words. So the practices we do here, the four immeasurables, the seven limb prayer. I can't imagine any of these without Atisha, really. I mean, that's kind of the conclusion I came to, but everyone needs to find their own way with that. Let's see. So, let's see. He gave a king an elephant and said to him, "This isn't for going to war, this is to carry sacred objects, when you got to move them." So, And that's, like the pictures. Pictures are really beautiful.
Excuse me, Venerable Khando, what book is that?
It's fairly recent. It's the revered monk and scholar, Shashi Bala. It's a series, but they're all up here if anybody wants to look at them. I also attempted to read a very, very scholarly book. I think I only got to page 90. He was going to Indonesia at that point. So Geshe-la usually asks, often says, why don't you introduce each other? We got to introduce yourselves to each other. So, but I'd like to do it if people are willing to kind of take a few minutes to introduce themselves and talk. And if they're willing to, share if there's any takeaway from this today. Anything that you're going to leave with that might be of benefit to you. I certainly understand if they're not. This has been, I think, more stream of consciousness than anything else. Sorry, but the best that I could do, given the fact that it was kind of overwhelming, the amount of information, and I got really caught up in the phrases and the teachings, and maybe lost the focus about being of benefit to everyone here in this room. So
Venerable Khandala, can I suggest that, because I
sure.
think it was posted on our calendar that we would end at 11:30.
Oh,
So there might have been some
okay,
confusion.
we're done.
Because
Okay.
normally we end at noon.
but
But
that's
however,
good.
if for those of you who would like to stay and chat with each other about
No,
what
I'm
we
just
covered
gonna,
today,
I'm gonna,
think
this is
that'd
on
be
my,
fine.
this is on my refrigerator, which I go to so often that I get to look at it a lot. I'm in and out of my refrigerator all the time. So this is kind of a summary. The greatest achievement is selflessness. The greatest worth is self-mastery. The greatest quality is seeking to serve others. The greatest precept is continual awareness. The greatest medicine is the emptiness of everything. The greatest action is not conforming with the world's ways. The greatest magic is transmuting the passions. The greatest generosity is non-attachment. The greatest goodness is a peaceful mind. The greatest patience is humility. The greatest effort is not concerned with results. The greatest meditation is a mind that lets go. And the greatest wisdom is seeing through appearances. And I'm going to finish with a quote from the Buddha, because this is a week when probably many people will be in and out of their refrigerator because it's food week. And so this is a quote from the Buddha. If you knew what I know about the power of giving, you would not let a single meal pass without sharing it in some way. The Buddha. So I rejoice in whatever you're making, doing, eating, or sharing this week. You can do it with a bodhicitta aspiration and attitude. And thank you for your patience with me, because I would have given myself a C, at least, or probably a C minus. And some professors I know would have given me a D. Thank you.
And I'll bring up the I'll bring up dedication prayers.
Thank you.
You want to do?
Okay, in the Gold Prayer Book, we'll go to page 246 for the dedication prayer from Master Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then go to page 36 for the long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And now inside the back cover of the Gold Prayer Book is the prayer for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's swift return. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And now inside the page, the front cover, we'll have the prayers for Geshe Gelek and Geshe Sangpo's long lives. Supreme Guide, you lead us on the many paths of virtue. A shining sun, you give us the best of excellent explanations. Supreme virtuous friend, you are a constant Dharma companion. Lama, who has renounced fame, may you ever remain. You who have steadfast imprints of virtuous qualities and keep the instructions of the glorious Guru in your heart. You who pass day and night with noble activities, great virtuous friend, may you have a very long life. And 7 Tara mantras for the benefit of all beings. Om Tari Tu Re Soha. 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 And if you're in the Gampa, if you would close your book fully before putting it away, they get put away sometimes kind of open, and this helps preserve the books in good condition, and these are no longer in print, so thank you.
Thank you, Venerable. It's okay. No, no problem. Thank you so much for teaching today, Venerable Lama. I mean, gosh, I'm sorry, I did that twice already. Venerable Khando. Bye, everyone online.